Good evening and welcome to On the Spot. Tonight we'll be returning to June 1783. The American Revolution is over, but big problems lie ahead for the new country. I'll be anchoring tonight's newscast with my co-anchors, Jim Brewer and Renetta Hernandez.
The trouble is with the government. When America declared its independence in 1776, it set up a list of guidelines called the Articles of Confederation. The Articles established a weak government and led by the Continental Congress.
Congress can make war and negotiate with other nations, but that's about it. It can't make laws about taxes, trade, and the dispute between the states.
The government is too weak and disorganized to get much done. Some people wonder if it's time to change. We turn now to Walter Watt, our government correspondent. Walter, what's the problem with Congress?
The problem is I can't find it.
What do you mean you can't find it?
Someone told me it was in Philadelphia, but when I got there, they told me it had been moved. I've been looking for it ever since.
A vanishing Congress?
Oh, wait a minute. Here comes a fancy gentleman on horseback. He looks lost as well. Excuse me, sir. Who are you?
I am Louis Montmorin, French minister to America.
Well, sir, do you know what happened to Congress?
I do. Some soldiers from your Continental Army did not get paid, so they marched in on Congress in Philadelphia.
Did Congress pay them?
Pay them. Your Congress is broke.
Well, how come it's broke?
Well, under the Articles of Confederation, your government can't impose taxes. It has no way of raising money.
Then what did Congress do?
They ran away from Philadelphia. How do you say, with their tails between their legs?
And where did they go?
I'm not sure. But the Spanish ambassador told me they fled to Princeton, New Jersey.
I guess I'll follow you. This is Walter Watt, reporting from somewhere in New Jersey.
Unfortunately, things don't look much better for America on the international scene. We switch ahead 2 years to 1785 and our London correspondent, Karen Ware.
It's so foggy that no one has seen me sneak into the negotiation session.
What negotiation session?
The one between John Adams, the American ambassador, and Lord Carthaman, the British negotiator. Let's listen in.
This is absurd. You treated us as if we're still colonies.
Sir, you colonists excuse me. I mean you Americans wanted freedom, and now you have it.
But you sell your goods and won't buy anything from us. You just like in colony times. Our merchants are going broke and our artisans are out of work.
But you forget the British Empire. Why should we let your goods in our markets?
Because we let you sell in our country.
Your Congress doesn't have the power to tax the goods we bring into our country, so you will be bringing them into free of charge. But don't get into a snit because my government is powerful enough to tax your goods when you try to sell them to England.
Well then, what about our soldiers in the Western fronts?
What about them?
What are you doing in our West? There's land for people to settle and farm.
I assume that you recall the peace treaty we both signed at the end of the Revolution.
Of course I do.
Then you remember that you Americans promised to pay back English citizens for the property you took from them and the money you owe. When you do, we'll hand over all the land of the east of the Mississippi River.
But my government is powerless to pay its citizens.
That, sir, is your problem, not ours. You Americans must learn that the world is controlled by powerful empires. If you are weak, you'll get pushed around.
It looks as though the articles are not helping America on this side of the Atlantic either.
Thank you, Karen. Let's jump ahead to January 1786 for an important update.
At least 700 farmers in the western Massachusetts are up in arms against the new government. Reporter Nancy Howe is there.
I'm outside a jailhouse in Springfield with Daniel Shays, leader of the protest.
I don't have much time to chat. In a few minutes, about 1,000 state militia will be coming up that road.
What's going on here?
We're hardworking farmers, and they've been putting us in jail because we can't pay our debts or their high taxes. They treat us no better than the British did.
Who are they?
Those dang blasted bankers and merchants in Boston who run the state government and don't care about us little people.
And so you're protesting?
You're darn right. We've been stopping the sheriff from arresting people for debt. Uh-oh. Here come the troops now. Excuse me.
Let's see what the other side has to say. Here comes someone official. Excuse me, what's your name?
I'm General William Shepard, commander of the Massachusetts militia.
Why are you here?
To crush the rebellion. These people need to obey the laws.
But Shea says the farmers weren't represented when the laws were made.
It's not my problem.
He also says that they have as much rights to resist now as they did to fight Britain 10 years ago.
Ridiculous. What if everybody decided to protest? Nobody would pay their taxes or debts, and there'd be chaos. Troops, ready, aim, fire!
A bloody blow to the new republic. Back to you, Renata.
Shea's rebellion has scared many politicians. They're worried that under the Articles, the central government is not strong enough to stop protests. Soon, they'll say, we'll have an anarchy.
As you can see, many people think there are plenty of reasons to set up a strong central government. A convention has been called in Philadelphia for the summer of 1787 to strengthen Articles. Walter Watt has a story.
It's hot enough here in Philadelphia to fry an egg on the Liberty Bell. And it's even hotter behind these curtains.
Curtains? Walter?
Curtains in Independence Hall, where the Declaration of Independence was signed 11 years ago. I'm hiding behind them because the Constitutional Convention is supposed to be a secret, and I sneaked in.
And what do you see?
It's a debate hotter than the 4th of July. It took weeks just to decide to throw out the Articles. Now they're discussing how many representatives each state should get in Congress.
As chairman of this convention, I call on William Patterson of New Jersey.
If representatives are decided on the basis of state population, big states will have the most power. Small states like New Jersey won't have a chance.
Mr. James of Virginia would like to say.
Perhaps a compromise can be arranged with 2 houses of Congress. One will be fixed by population for the big states, and one will have 2 senators for the small states.
Almost everyone is cheering. Let's skip to another key debate.
Mr. Alexander Hamilton of New York and Mr. Luther Martin of Maryland would like to speak.
We need a more stability in our government. We need a president and Congress elected for life.
No! If the president is voted in for life, and there will be no checks on their power, it'll be just like the tyrant we were stuck with King George again.
As I have said before, democracy is dangerous. The republic seldom judges correctly, give the rich and well-born a permanent share in the government.
Many people in the crowd are arguing with Hamilton. He's storming out. There's an uproar among the delegates.
Order! We must get on with our work. Wait, who's the man behind the curtain?
I have been discovered.
Will Mr. Madison and Mr. Martin please escort that intruder out of the hall?
Come with us, sir.
Right here. All right. Mr. Madison, a few questions, please. You argued that the article should be thrown out. Why?
I'm not to talk to you.
He's just scared because the truth might come out.
And what's that?
The truth is that he wants to take power away from the states and give it to the central government.
Why is that?
I want America to be strong, and to be strong, we must have a powerful federal, I call it, government that can regulate trade, impose taxes, and set up an army and a navy.
So we'll have our own empire, like England. Is that it?
No, not at all. It's to protect American interests.
And what are those?
Keeping foreign powers out of North America and protecting our foreign and domestic trade.
Trade, huh? He really just wants to make sure people pay their debts and taxes. After Shea's rebellion, he thinks the states aren't strong enough to keep rebellious citizens in line.
And what's wrong with people paying their bills?
Nothing, except that you're giving the government too much power. The states should decide their own fate. Why did we fight against tyranny from London if we're going to replace it with tyranny from Philadelphia?
I think there's a long, hot summer ahead for these delegates. Back to you, Renata.
We switched ahead now to the fall of 1787. Reporter Nancy Howe is with one man who feels excluded from the Constitution.
I'm here on the salty seafront of Charleston, South Carolina with Robert Freeman, a rope maker and a slave, who just petitioned the state legislature for his freedom.
Excuse me, but my name is not yet Freeman. That would be my freedom name.
I see, but what do you think of this new Constitution?
From what I've heard, it's not for me.
Why not?
does not outlaw slavery. In fact, it keeps the slave trade open for 20 more years. And the slave owners now get to count every 5 slaves as 3 people. That means they get more representatives in Congress, but of course, we slaves still can't vote.
I didn't think the Constitution even mentioned slaves.
It didn't. That's because they're embarrassed to have the word in their Great Freedom document. They call us other peoples, 3/5 of a person, that is.
It looks as though the slavery issue is going to be with us for a while. This is Nancy Howe, outside South Carolina Legislature.
For another view of the Constitution, we turn to Karen Ware. She's back from London and has live coverage from the Iroquois Indians at the Council of Elders.
Chief Joseph Brand is getting up to address the elders.
This new Constitution will make white men more powerful than ever before.
Mary Brandt, Joseph's wife and an important chief in her own right, is getting up to speak.
White men build great army with Constitution, promised us land for all time, but soon they will take it from us.
This is amazing. There weren't any women in Philadelphia, and they sure weren't mentioned in the Constitution, but the Iroquois listened to Mary Brandt with respect. It's clear that there's not much excitement here about the Constitution. This is Karen Ware reporting from Iroquois Village near Mohawk River in New York.
Now that the Constitution is finished, 9 of the 13 states must vote to approve, actually the word is ratify, the document. For an update on how the ratification is going, we turn to Nancy Howe in Williamsburg, Virginia's capital.
Gentlemen, please calm down or someone will get hurt.
What's going on, Nancy?
I'm trying to keep Patrick Henry and James Madison from letting their fists fly. Henry has called Madison a white-wigged liar.
You're darn right he's a liar. He's been using my name to get the Constitution passed here in my native Virginia. But I bitterly oppose Madison and his Federalist friends.
Why is that?
Federalists want a strong federal government. I believe the states should have more power than the central government.
Why is that?
Because they are smaller and closer to the people. Folks can participate in the decisions more easily and have more information.
Like Shays, I suppose?
And what's wrong with that? As my friend Thomas Jefferson wrote, the tree of liberty should be watered with the blood of tyrants. Rebellions keep the government true to the people.
Rebellions will destroy property and hurt business.
Your Constitution just lists what the government can do. Whatever happened to the rights of the individual, like freedom of speech, the right to a fair trial, freedom of religion? What stops the government from intruding on people's lives?
Well, some people are calling for a Bill of Rights that would protect individual liberties, but it isn't necessary. The people are already protected by the Constitution.
Another lie from a blue-blooded, silk-stocking aristocrat.
It looks like a close vote here in Virginia. Back to you, Jim.
In the summer of 1788, Virginia did vote to ratify the Constitution by a very close vote.
After a big campaign by the Federalists, the big state, New York, ratified as well, and a new government was born.
In 1789, amid great celebrations, George Washington became the first president. A few months later, the states approved the Bill of Rights. It became part of the Constitution in 1791. Oddly enough, James Madison ended up a key advocate of the 10 Amendments. He wanted to unify support for the Constitution, and the bill was the only way he was going to get it. For On the Spot, this is Johnny Dimitri.